Are you guys looking for the best settings for Modern Warfare 3? Well, I've got them for you. Let's jump into it. Alright, so basically what we're going to go ahead and do throughout this video here is I'm going to go ahead and cover some of these settings that I personally use for graphics, gameplay, things like that. So let's go ahead and jump into it right now. We're going to go ahead and we're going to keep the on-demand texture streaming on. We definitely want to go ahead and download some of those high-quality textures from the internet while we're playing. It'll basically make your game look a little bit better. We're going to go ahead and we're going to turn off all of the motion blurs. Basically, I can go ahead and I'll show you guys exactly what it looks like with motion blur on. If you go ahead and you notice, you can go ahead and take a look here and you see within the actual gun itself, as well as when we spin, you'll see on the sides and the gun, it'll basically, there's a blurriness to it. So you want to go ahead and you want to turn that off. Film grain, I turn this all the way off. To me, if it's set at that standard 0.25, the game does look a little bit grainy. So I went ahead and I turned that all the way down to 0 here. That way we can go ahead and keep some of that green out. It'll basically just look a little bit smoother. Some of the edges, things like that will look a lot better as well. For the depth of field, it's another kind of a blur of out of focus range. Kind of the outlines here. Go ahead and we're just going to go ahead and turn that off for now. Fidelity cast, you definitely want to go ahead and keep that on. That's more of a sharpening setting. You definitely want that on. In terms of the strength, though, we're going to go ahead and we're going to bump that up to a 90. I think default it's set at 80. For the eco mode, we're going to actually turn that off. We don't want that on at all. Field of view, you guys should all know what field of view is. Me personally, I use the max FOV. I know some controller players like to knock that down to about 100, 105 or so, but it's all really preference. To me personally, I like to be able to see the most of the game and the outer regions of what I'm actually looking at. So let's say if somebody's all the way over here, then I can go ahead and I can see them kind of sneaking up on me, things like that. While I'm shooting at somebody like over here, I'll be able to see him. Okay, I see that guy, or I see this guy in the window over here, whatever it might be. So I like to go ahead and I like to keep that at 120 frame or FOV right there. I played on independent for a long time, but I'm going to show you the differences here. So basically independent, if you ADS your gun, if you aim down your sights, you're going to notice you zoom in a lot more than you would on affected. I'm going to go and turn that to affected now. And if you can see, we can still see a majority of the plane here. We're not zooming in so far. Again, this is independent field of view here. I'm going to go and I'm going to fire. So we're going to see it's kind of all over the place. I'm trying to control this a little bit, but it's not working out that great. Now, again, we can't see as far because it's not zooming in for us on that independent field of view. But if you can go ahead and notice, it's definitely a lot better in terms of actually trying to control that ranged recoil. And you can actually see a lot better when you're shooting your gun there. Again, with the weapon field of view, there's 3 different settings. You're gonna have wide, default, or narrow. I pick wide. If you pick wide, the weapon is gonna actually look a lot smaller on your screen. For the first person camera movement, default is 100, less is 75%, and least is 50. So I know when you're playing Warzone, you don't want this on 100, you don't want it on 75. You want it to be the least amount of movement that your camera sees. Spectator camera, I do put on game perspective just because the helmet camera, I don't really like to see like from like the GoPro angle of anybody. I don't think anybody really likes that. So now for most of these settings, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna keep them on default just because a lot of them you don't really need to mess with. But what I'm gonna go ahead and do is obviously some of the most important ones. Obviously you don't need controller vibration on. That'll probably affect you while you're aiming, things like that. Now dead zones, that's really going to be up to your stick drift, things like that. This is a brand new controller, so I don't need to really mess with any of this stuff, but you guys might need to. Now, it is pretty cool that they have this setting here in Modern Warfare 3 where it'll actually go ahead and test your dead zones. So right now, we can see it on the left dead zone here. Basically, I'm moving my left thumbstick right now. There's zero stick drift on it. Obviously, I don't really use this controller that much, as well as on the right one. You guys might not be able to see it here. Let me go ahead and I'll hide this. I'll hide myself for just a second. The left and the right dead zone here. It actually tests your dead zone, which is really, really cool, I think. I'm going to change the settings here for the aiming. Now, obviously, this is going to be a lot of preference things. I personally like 6.6 horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity for controller. All of the ADS, things like that, I keep this mainly just default. I don't really ever go in here and mess with anything like that. But in terms of your actual sensitivity for your sticks, I personally find that 6.6 is the best. It's not too slow, it's not too fast as well. It's just kind of right there. For now here, I am going to go ahead and I am a standard aim response curve type gamer for the aim assist here. I usually just keep that here, but you guys might hear differently some other places. Again, most of this stuff is just going to be kind of personal preference. In terms of aim assist type, again, I am a default standard gamer, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that on default here. For the target aim assist, I am going to go ahead and just keep that on. And last but not least, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go over the gameplay. Starting off with the automatic tack sprint, I am going to go ahead and put that on automatic tack sprint. That way, basically, if you can see here, every time that I move my stick forward, I'm not clicking it or I'm not pressing it, anything like that. We're actually going to be going into a automatic tack sprint just immediately. Basically, you save a little bit of time, you save a little bit of your thumb, everything like that, your thumbstick. So I normally just like to keep that on. All right, and then basically what we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move on to the auto move forward. So basically all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and tap my controller. I'm just gonna tap it up once, and that's basically gonna keep us moving basically forward automatically. And I don't know about you, but I definitely do not want that on. I would like to be able to control exactly when I'm going forward. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put that as off, and we're gonna go to grounded mantle. Again, I'm gonna keep that on basically with that on. You're going to be able to climb nearby obstacles while on the ground using basically just the jump button. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to show you that. So basically that's just kind of what grounded mantle is. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep that on. Now this is an important one here. The slide/dive behavior. Obviously with Modern Warfare 3 and us getting some of the movement back that we didn't have in Modern Warfare 2 and Al-Mazrah or Warzone, I'm going to go ahead and say that normally we would want this on tap to dive with the old movement that we had, but now that we actually have some of the slide canceling back, we're gonna want to go ahead and keep this on a single tap to slide. That way we can go ahead and hit these slide cancels where it's just really easy for you to tap the slide button just one time instead of you having to hold it down, and then you're able to slide with the hold. So we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna hit the single one button tap. So the plunging underwater, now I don't think there will be any multiplayer maps with water in it. This is more of a Warzone mechanic, things like that. Instead of it being on the trigger, we're going to go ahead and have it free. So basically what that means is whenever you look around, if you're looking up and you go forward, you're going to be going to the surface of the water. If you're looking down to the water and you're going forward, you're going to be going down to the water. So it just allows you to swim a little bit freer. We're going to go ahead and turn off the parachute auto deploy. Again, this is another Warzone setting here that you'll use, but basically in Warzone, it'll auto deploy your parachute at a certain height for you from the plane or always. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do off for that. Again, we want to have as much control of our character as we can. For the sprinting door bash, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have that on. Basically, when you run into a door, it'll basically bash open, right? So let's say that this is just a door right here. If it's closed right there and we just basically run up to it, it's going to basically bash it open, and then the door will be open on this side here. For the slide cancel sprint, again, I am going to go ahead and just keep that on default here. It says press the circle button to slide and cancel sprint, which allows to crouch. Yeah, again, we're just going to want to keep that on here. Most of these, I think, are just going to be default here for the combat behaviors. Again, ADS, we're going to have that on hold. Basically, when I have my trigger down, it's going to aim down. When I let go, it's going to go ahead and let go. So for the change zoom activity or activation, again, just going to keep that on default or anything like that. We don't need to change that. For equipment behavior, again, we're going to do hold here. We don't have to do toggle. Weapon mount activation, that's, again, just a default setting. So basically what this is once you mount up on a door here and you press your melee, then it'll get you off of it. Or you can just kind of move away from it or un-ADS, and that'll basically that'll unmount you there as well. You can kind of see I'm just moving away with my thumbstick here, and that's basically just kind of instantly unmounting us from that. The next setting here we're going to go ahead and talk about is the tactical stance activation. Again, this is going to be for the tack stance here. So if you're unaware of what the tack stance is, basically if you are sprinting and you slide and hold your left trigger or your ADS trigger down, mid slide you'll be able to You'll be able to go ahead and ADS with the side of your gun in like a hip fire. In a hip fire motion. And that's basically what the tack stance is there. So again, I'm going to go ahead and keep that on default there. We don't really need to mess with any of that stuff. But again, most of these things are kind of not necessarily too important to Modern Warfare. And they're more important towards Warzone. So again, with the armor plate behavior, I'm going to turn that into apply on. Obviously, this is multiplayer, so there's not going to be any plates or anything like that. But once you do have Warzone live, you'll basically have this setting already saved, and that'll be good for you. So in terms of ADS stick swap, we're going to go ahead and keep that default. Back direction, backpack control, we're going to keep that directional buttons as well. Depleted ammo, weapon switch, I'm going to keep that on. So basically what that does is once you run out of ammo, it's just going to switch your gun for you. Obviously, you want to keep that on there. Quick C4 detonation. If you want to, this is actually a good setting to go ahead and change for 1 by 1 instead of grouped. So with the last iteration of Warzone and Modern Warfare 2, if you had this on grouped, so let's say you have 2 C4s, you would need to throw the 2 C4s, and then you would have to detonate it with 1 by 1. You could throw one, double click, detonate it, throw another one, same thing, detonate it. So we're going to go and we're going to keep that on 1 by 1. Manual fire behavior, we're going to just do press as well. Keep that, just keep that default here. This is going to be some more stuff for the vehicles. Again, if you're playing Ground War or Warzone, these would kind of be for you. I'm going to keep this just on default because, again, most of this stuff is just camera or lean out activation, things like that. But we're just going to keep that on default there. And then the last settings here are the overlay behaviors. Again, most of this stuff is just default. But there are some pretty important things that we did change here. Alright guys, well that wraps up the video there for all of these settings for Modern Warfare 3 and some of the settings that'll help you out in Warzone as well. I do appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to go ahead and watch this video. If you guys liked it, I would appreciate it if you guys liked the video, comment, and subscribed. If you guys want to go ahead and leave me a comment on what you guys would like to see going forward into Modern Warfare 3, Zombies, and Warzone, I would appreciate it, and I'll take those comments and I'll actually use them for some videos in the future. As always, guys, I appreciate you guys. Stay safe. Have a great rest of your day, night, morning, whatever it might be. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.